Yo, thank you everybody for always watching my YouTube channel. Get today's video to 20K, everyone. Let's get it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Justin Bora, for the support on YouTube. Appreciate it. Hey, Jeff Sambora, you're always watching my videos on YouTube every day, huh? You always comment down.
Someone with a neck injury. Yeah, my neck hurts. The other poor bastard was like, never mind hurts.
Hey, what up, Cruiser? Timothy Armstrong, you're a new subscriber to my YouTube channel? Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
That's what I do.
Cruise lover, thank you. Cruise lover.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard the studio tour. Slide all the way over to your right-hand side, filling in all available seats. There might be a few guests
Hey, guys.
aboard the tram. And
Pass
before we
number
head,
one if
make
you
sure
could hear
have
me.
A pair of these bad boys. Boom, your 3D glasses. If you forgot to grab a pair of 3D glasses, raise your hands now. Let us know. We'll get some over to you before we... You got your glasses. Jude raised your hand. She was like, absolutely.
Okay.
Now, we don't need these 3D glasses quite yet. We're saving them for King Kong 360 3D and Fast
Cruise
and
lover,
Supercharged.
you're my moderator now.
Two parts of the tour. It's going to get a little bit bumpy out there. So, if you're traveling with small children, and
Take
guests
care of the
who
live
don't
chat.
touch
If
the
you
floor
see
of the
any
tram
trolls,
while
remove
seated on
them.
the tram, make sure
Okay.
they're seated towards the center of the tram, not directly next to the tram gates, because we want to help keep everybody safe out there as we spend the next hour or so exploring a real working production studio. That's right, we do have some active production going on the lot today. So when we drive past our sound stages, I'm going to keep an eye out for wig wags. Those are little red siren lights that light up when the cameras are rolling inside the sound stage, and they tell me to be quiet and get off the microphone.
Hey everybody,
So I
check
never
out today's video on
cut myself
YouTube. I
off
just posted
mid-sentence.
it
You-
10
video
minutes
really
ago.
quickly.
It's a
Probably
good
'cause I
video.
spotted a wig wag, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm really bad at seeing them because I'm never paying attention. So if you see a wig wag, you can always wave, grab my attention. I'll be like, oh my god. And we don't have to worry about them quite yet, so I can keep yapping at you. And introduce myself. My name's Olivia. I'm going to be your tour guide today. Yegan is going to be our wonderful driver. And before we get too far, I do have some safety rules to go over. First, if you need guest assistance or have a medical emergency, or if you drop something of value off the side of the tram or have any sound or video issues, reach up and grab the red E-cord that runs along the center of the ceiling of the tram, and I'll be back to assist you as soon as it's safe to do so. Otherwise, during the entire tour, please stay seated and keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times. Remember to use the red cord above your head if you need any assistance. The studio is private property, and if at any time during the tour you drop your phone or just can't wait to use the restroom, pull the cord and remain seated. And please, no smoking of any kind during the tour. And be prepared, our tour today features loud noises, sudden tram movements, fire effects, and many water effects. You'll want to have your cameras out for great photo opportunities, but keep an eye on them so they don't get wet. And finally, for your safety and the safety of those around you, please do not use selfie sticks while on board the tram. Thank you. Now I've introduced you to myself and the Egan, but I've yet to introduce you to my co-host, the host of The Tonight Show. It's Jimmy Fallon.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Fallon. Welcome aboard the world famous studio tour. I know what you're thinking. Why the tufts? Well, we're celebrating our 60th anniversary. That's right, 60 years of glitz, glamour, and our own great white shark. As we celebrate our diamond anniversary today, we pay tribute to Universal's past and take you behind the scenes to discover why this studio tour is world famous. So whether this is your first visit or your 60th, get ready for fun, excitement, and the experience.
While our studio tour is celebrating 60 years, the studio itself is over 100 years old, because on March 15th, 1915, our founder, Carl Laemmle, invited the public into the studio to watch silent movies being made. Guests could walk from set to set and marvel at the new technology involved in filmmaking. But with the invention of sound and the need for quiet on set, the original walking tour ended. In the 1960s, under the leadership of company chairman Lou Wasserman and executives Al Dorskin and Jake Stein, the idea of reviving a tour of the studio returned when the Gray Line bus tours originating in Hollywood made a stop at our gates. On July 15, 1964, the first of our red and white candy-striped glamour trams took 67 passengers on a 2-hour tour of the lot, and a world-famous studio tour was born. We started with 2 drivers, 2 guides, and 1 ticket seller working out of a trailer on Lankershim Boulevard. From there, the studio tour expanded with fantastic one-of-a-kind Hollywood elements like the burning house and the rock slide, which were in this area of the lot back in the 1970s and 1980s. Now, our tour has changed a lot throughout these 60 years, and so has the tour vehicle. You're on board our newest version of the tour vehicle, the electric tram, as we continue our commitment to creating a zero-emissions studio tour fleet. Electric trams get their power from wireless inductive charging pads, just like the ones on your cell phone, only much larger. And like an electric car, we have regenerative braking. So every time we go downhill during this tour, we're going to be building a charge. And we're no strangers to innovation when it comes to our tour vehicles. We started with the Glamour trams in 1964. In 1983, we upgraded to super trams, allowing us to carry more guests and experience more thrills. In 2000, we added onboard video, turning the tram into a movie theater on wheels. So let's see where the tram takes us today. Now, to your right, this building is actually the backside of Super Nintendo World. This is Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge. So as you can see, the theme park really
It's gonna be action right now, everyone just wait.
Into the studio, because to your left, we have the first of our sound stages. We'll be exploring the front lot for the first part of our tour. It's where the majority of our sound stages are located. And about 80 to 90% of all filming takes place inside of sound stages because they make for the ideal filming environment. You see, they're 98% soundproof. And we actually have an open elephant door over to the left as well, so you can see some sets being constructed inside of there. And you can also see that the walls are heavily padded. That's what provides all that soundproofing. Now, because there's still that 2% that can get through, that's why we have to worry about our wigwags. But other than that 2%, sound stages are almost entirely closed off from the outside world, as once you close those elephant doors, no outside light gets in as well. So it creates a space where filmmakers have complete control over their environment, which is why they're the ideal place for filming. Now, Soundstage 14, over to your left, was recently home to the 3rd season of Bel-Air, streaming on our streaming platform, Peacock. And we have a lot of celebrity cameos lined up for you for the 60th anniversary tour, starting with 2 of the stars of Bel-Air, Jabari Banks and Ollie Shillington.
We're leaving the theme park behind and entering the front lot where real Hollywood magic is made. Now, well, inside the sound stages that surrounds us, we can create any kind of environment the script demands.
For the past 60 years, studio tour visitors have driven right by these buildings, and inside these walls, the sets from your favorite TV shows and movies have transported audiences anywhere the imagination can take you, even to a palatial mansion in Bel-Air.
When we film Bel-Air, we love coming out of the sound stages and seeing the trams filled with excited guests as they drive by.
So, keep an eye out.
You never know who
Or what?
you'll see on the studio tour.
Now, they weren't just scripted to say they love coming out to say hi. It's true. We did have many Bel Air cast sightings back then. So hopefully they get renewed for a 4th season. We can have them back out on the lot as well. But you know, we do a lot more than just live action film and television projects here at Universal. We work on a lot of animated projects as well, with both DreamWorks and Illumination Entertainment, who has their sign coming up on the right. Now, we have statues of the Minions out there because they work on the Despicable Me films, as well as The Secret Life of Pets, Sing, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and more. So our next guest for the 60th anniversary is the founder of Illumination Entertainment himself, Chris Meledandri. He's going to tell you about the production bungalows coming up on your left.
In the early days of the studio, these bungalows were used as dressing rooms to the stars of Hollywood's golden age. Now, they're used as offices where some of Hollywood's top directors, writers, and producers work their magic to get a production ready, including my company, Illumination. At Illumination, we've made some of the most successful animated films in box office history, including Despicable Me.
Oh, they're putting the
Secret Life of
alarm
It looks
area.
like somebody has pulled the emergency cord. If this is a medical emergency, please pull the cord again. All right, I'll be back to assist you.
Minions, Sing,
So
The
he's
Grinch,
not
and the
blessed.
Super Mario Brothers movie. And the team is hard at work again as we launch our next film, Despicable Me 4.
I know you love your dad.
So someone's head fell, everyone.
He loves you. He just doesn't show it on his face or with his body language.
We've had some really good sequences in Despicable Me movies. The heist of the Honey Badger is now officially my favorite. What it comes down to is the emotional through line. And I believe that that's why these movies have stayed in people's hearts.
Public enemy #1. Like it's not you.
That's gone, brother. That's not coming back. Yeah.
Enjoy the memories.
All right, we had our hat recovered. Now, Chris was telling you a lot about Despicable Me 4 going to be hitting theaters next month, so be sure to check it out. And he mentioned that these bungalows used to be dressing rooms to the stars. Stars like Doris Day and Lucille Ball would sort of use these as a home away from home when they worked on the lot. This is back when we had contracted stars. So these actors would sign a contract to work exclusively with Universal Studios for a set amount of time. They do a bunch of movies with us. So because I'd be spending a lot of time on our lot, we built them, these little permanent dressing rooms. Now some of you may recognize the Wicked logo over there because since these belong to production companies now, one of them is home to Mark Platt Productions, currently producing Wicked Part 1 and 2, starring Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. And Office 5195 over there used to belong to Alfred Hitchcock himself. It's now home to the De Laurentiis Company, who were producers on the Firestarter films. Now, this is when I gotta start looking a little bit harder for wigwags. This building over to your left is home to 2 sound stages in one. One of them is home to Lopez vs. Lopez, starring George Lopez and his daughter Mayan Lopez, playing his daughter in the show. And the other is home to St. Dennis Medical, which is actually going to be a new workplace comedy series.
I'm not driving
airing
the
on
tram,
NBC. Okay, their wigwags
so I
off for
can't
now.
make it go
It's going to
faster.
star David Allen
Everyone.
Greer from In Living Color, Wendy McClendon Covey from Bridesmaids, Reno 911, and The Goldbergs, and Allison Tolman from Why Women Kill and Fargo.
Karen lady.
And it's going to be filmed mockumentary style, so similar to The Office, and it's sure to be hilarious. They've been filming in this sound stages and also out on our Metro sets. That's right, folks. We've left the front lot. We're crossing into the back lot, where all
Hey,
of our
Scott
large-scale
Melvin,
exterior sets are
your
located.
supporter.
And for those of you who have been on the tour before, but maybe not in recent weeks, oh, over to your left, you can see, looks like a bunch of doctors and patients. Those are all actors for St. Denis Medical. And to your right, we have constructed the exterior of St. Denis Medical Center itself. We've transformed our financial district. We put up this new brick facade. I'll talk more about the term facade later on the tour. So be sure to check out the series. It's going to air on NBC, I believe, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. And when you watch it, you'll see a lot of familiar sights. We also have Central Park over to the right, as well as Brownstone Street, that row of brownstone apartments you may recognize from Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, or Gone Girl, starring Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike. And ahead of us, we have our small town section of the Metro set, Courthouse Square, which you probably know as Hill Valley from Back to the Future.
Welcome to the Courthouse Square. These sets were used to create Hill Valley in the Back to the Future films.
And they represented multiple time periods, 1985, 1955, and the far, far distant future, 2015. To this day, this is one of the most popular sets on the Universal Studio Tour.
We had a lot of fun making those films here on the lot. I wonder what it would be like to go back to those days. If only we had a time machine.
Hey, everybody, do you think we
It's
can
100
get this
degrees
tram
here,
up to 88
or 90
miles per
degrees.
hour? See you in the future.
Welcome to Courthouse Square, everybody, aka Hill Valley. For our 60th anniversary, we brought back some extra set pieces and props, including the time machine itself from Back to the Future. And that's parked in front of what used to be the iconic clock tower from Back to the Future. You might notice it looks a little bit different now. But don't worry, we didn't tear down the original structure from Back to the Future. It's still standing there. It's just hiding behind a brick facade. There's that word again, facade. So if you were to open those front doors, you'd actually see the original front doors standing just about 8 feet back. The original columns, building face, it's all still there. We just had to change the appearance of the building because it was super recognizable after Back to the Future, making it difficult to film other projects in this area.
I did see
And
that.
the term facade just indicates that when
That
I say
guy is
brick,
getting sued
it's
for a
not
lot of
actually
money,
brick. Take a good look at all these buildings. None of them are real.
Schizo
They don't
Summer.
have real interiors. They're just shells made out of lightweight materials like plastic, fiberglass, and plywood. Sometimes even high-density styrofoam that's carved to look like brick. And we do this because that makes it really easy to change what these buildings look like from production to production. You just have to change out those lightweight exteriors. Now we've left a small town to enter into the big city here on New York Street. And this is the newest area of our Metro sets. Before we had New York Street, this area of the studio was home to an old studio tour attraction. And here to tell you more about it is one of the stars of Universal's 2005 version of King Kong, Jack Black.
And self-action. Did you know the Metro sets were once the home to Hollywood's biggest star? Right here is where the original studio tour King Kong attraction resided from 1986 until 2008. He stood 30 feet tall and weighed in at 13,000 pounds. Over the years, millions of guests got to meet King Kong face to face. He shook the tram so close you could feel his hot banana breath. Is that it? I believe that's my last line, and then tram moves on to the next thing.
Yeah, pretty much. And the next thing is going to be King Kong 360 3D. But before we head up, I do want to clarify something Jack Black said. He mentioned the hot banana breath from that animatronic, and that wasn't just a funny joke. That thing was actually designed to smell like bananas. It emitted a little scent thing every time it shook the tram. Now we've since upgraded our King Kong attraction to King Kong 360 3D. And as we head on up to Skull Island, I'm going to pass it over to the director of King Kong, Peter Jackson.
It's the original King Kong that made me want to do it movies. I saw that movie on TV when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I wanted to become a King Kong. I like films that just take you away from your real life and sweep you up to adventure. Kong literally does that. I mean, you're on board the ship, you're sailing to a lost island, you're encountering monsters and creatures from, prehistoric times. So I was thrilled when Universal invited me back to Skull Island, and it's great to have you along for the ride. Now, we have created this 3D immersive experience, so you're going to have your glasses ready. Don't put them on yet, but just have them in your hand because we're about to return to Skull Island.
Remain seated, supervise your children, keep your hands and feet inside the tram, hold on to your belongings, and no flash photography.
Here's the monkey.
We really put a lot of thought into the character's personality, and he's so much more than a monster. In fact, he's not a monster. He is an incredibly majestic, ancient creature. He's a force of nature. He's old, he's wise, he's proud, he's fierce, and obviously he has a heart. The most important feature of Kong are his eyes. Kong's eyes are wonderfully expressive. They're full of emotion. His eyes are like a window into his personality. He's had an enormous number of encounters with his foes, the T-Rexes and the various dinosaurs on Skull Island. So he's been beaten up, scarred, chewed up, spat out by these dinosaurs at various times, and he wears the scars of a lot of ancient battles.
Nobody's lived here for hundreds of years. It was so short.
You don't see King Kong?
That was King Kong 360 3D. Such an amazing attraction created by the team at Weta FX. You just got to see their work projected onto two of the world's largest 3D screens, each over 40 feet tall and 180 feet long. They designed this attraction alongside Peter Jackson himself. They're very talented at Weta. It's going to say 5, but they now have 7 Academy Awards. Their most recent win for their work on Avatar, The Way of Water. They also worked on the original Avatar film, The Rise of the Planet of the Apes, the Lord of the Rings films, the Hobbit movies, several Marvel projects, and the Last of Us TV series starring the love of my life, Pedro Pascal.
With a project like the studio tour, the audience is in the middle of the environment. They're looking in all directions, there's creatures coming at them, they're seeing Kong from this side and T-Rexes from the other side.
Working on movies, we always know people are looking straight ahead, they're looking at the shot that we're working on.
Here you have to take into account that people are looking in all directions.
Also, one of the things about this ride, unlike the movies that we're used to working on, there's no cuts, because it's one giant shot. This tram that's driving along through Skull Island is where the camera's from. This ring represents where the screen is 10 meters away.
We're really creating about 50 minutes of a feature film. That amount of visual information, that number of pixels, and presenting them to the audience, it's a hell of a ride.
Now we're passing by London Square over to the left, driving parallel to New York Street. I do want to clarify, even though these areas are named after specific cities, they don't only have to represent those cities. For example, New York Street was used as London once for a car chase sequence in Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw. And they filmed part of it on location in London and part of it here on our back lot. So they had to transform those buildings to look exactly like the buildings they drove past in London. And they did so well that when you're watching the movie, you really can't tell which parts were done on the back lot and which were done in the real city. Now we do have this gorgeous monster mural coming up on your right-hand side. Our Universal Monsters are a huge part of our history here. It's kind of what put us on the map in a lot of ways, at least in the horror movie genre back in the day. And I'll tell you more about those monster movies later, but specifically with this mural, this was done by one man, free-handed with spray paint. He didn't have any guidelines, no sort of projection or anything to follow. And that's spray paint. It's mind-blowing to me. And he actually is self-taught, and he started just by doing graffiti on the street. So it's really cool to have his artwork up here on the lot as well. And we don't always get to drive past it on the tour, so really cool that we get to see that today. Now over to the left, we have the soundstage for The Voice. They've been busy filming season 26 all out here. So it's really cool to have them out here on the lot. It's a huge production, so there's typically a lot of crew members milling around. And we do have more filming locations coming up on the left. Not just sound stages 32 and 33 across the lake, but that little lake itself. We call that body of water the Hollywood Ocean. And here, in 1974, we added the parting of the Red Sea to the studio tour, inspired by the classic film The Ten Commandments. The star of the movie, Charlton Heston, made an appearance to part the waters.
So besides the live, everyone go check out today's video on YouTube.
And give everyone on board a sea-level view.
Let's get 20K views on that one.
It's overlooked. Tell them they can walk on water. It's part of the tour.
There have also been exploding water mines, torpedoes, and prop submarines as part of the action in the lake. And we're not the only ones celebrating an anniversary this year, because 2024 also marks the 70th anniversary of the 3D classic Creature from the Black Lagoon, which also filmed out in the Hollywood Ocean. It's a part of our legacy of horror films and monster movies that stretches from Dracula in 1931 to the upcoming Dark Universe at Universal Epic Universe, opening next year in Orlando. Now we're about to head into Little Europe, where several of our monster movies were made. Our Little Europe sets are the second oldest sets on our back lot, and they were originally built to be the streets of Germany and all quiet on the Western Front. Now they went on to be monster-ridden village streets in several films, such as Dracula, Frankenstein, The Bride of Frankenstein, The Son of Frankenstein, The Wolfman, The Invisible Man, The Mummy, the original one, not the Brendan Fraser version, and more. And back then, these sets were very doom and gloom, dark sets. It's clearly no longer the case. These sets are now very colorful and inviting because they got a complete makeover for our comedy series, The Good Place. And although The Good Place ended several years ago, as part
There's
of
a
our
saying,
60th
everyone,
anniversary renovations,
for all the
we
people that I
brought back
film
a lot of the same signs
and all the
storefronts from
trolls.
The Good Place, so fans would
They're
be able
clowns.
to recognize things
I
such
love you
as the
clowns,
Frozen
though.
Yogurt shop coming up on your left.
By watching the videos, you still make me money anyways. You still give me monetization. I get paid for the videos.
Come on. I've never ever seen this. You're in the good place.
I'm not supposed to be here. He was going to the bad place.
Maybe it's not all that bad.
How can I help you?
What is the bad place like?
Well, it doesn't sound awesome.
The area to the left, just to the right, a little town square. That's called the Court of Miracles, and it was used as, you guessed it, a town square in a lot of our monster movies. It got its name, the Court of Miracles, from its use in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And that area used to look a lot different. So there used to be a big fountain in the center of the square. The buildings looked a lot older. And since we got to see the Good Place version of our Little Europe sets, both in person and on your screens, I'm going to show you some footage from our monster movies so you can see how much these sets have changed throughout the years. It'll give you a good idea of really how much we're able to transform our backlot sets between productions.
Listen now, the monster. He's in the woods. Get out the bloodhounds. Raise all the men you can, lock the women indoors, and wait for me. I'm ready! Take your torches and go!
So clearly, a very different vibe. But it wasn't too difficult to completely transform our Little Europe sets because just like our Metro sets, they're all
I wonder where's
facades,
Snake's
so
army,
they're
though.
designed to be redesigned.
Where's Snake Army?
And I mentioned out in our Metro sets that facades don't have real interiors. So they're really just structural spaces to support those exterior shells. And what you see on your screen is what the inside of a typical facade looks like. Some of ours sort of have a bare bones room or two on the bottom floor, but those upper floors definitely don't exist. And they're not designed for interior filming. So scenes where your character is walking through town, sitting outside at a cafe, sitting on a stoop on Brownstone Street, that's all going to be done on our backlot sets. But if you ever think one of the characters on a TV show walks through the front door of one of these buildings and then we see them, for example, inside the frozen yogurt shop, that interior is probably a set constructed inside one of our sound stages somewhere else entirely. It's definitely not out here on the backlot. Now the rare exception to this is if you're filming in a practical set. And a practical set just means it's a real building. You can film on the interior and the exterior. And on your screens here is an example of a gorgeous practical set over in our Western sets. And we do have another practical set located over to the left. It's that house. We call it the Denver Home. And you probably recognize it from Home and Family if you were ever a fan of that. So we actually have two functional kitchens inside of that house because they filmed a lot of cooking shows, a lot of homemaking shows in there. So that is a proper house, which means it's actually a lot more difficult to change what it looks like. You know, because then once you take down the outside, you're starting to affect the structure and the supports. It'd be like trying to redesign your house from the outside. It's a lot more work. But with facades, it's really easy. So we've transformed Little Europe several times. It's also been the Kingdom of Genovia in The Princess Diaries 2, A Royal Engagement, starring Anne Hathaway and Chris Pine. It was the storybook setting for Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, starring Brandy and Whitney Houston. So we had big musical numbers out there. For Princess Diaries 2, we had a big parade sequence through the streets. It was also the pirate town of Tortuga in Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. So for that one, they filmed at night. They dirtied up the sets. They had barrels of rum. There was fighting in the streets. They had stunt work out there. They had fire. completely
GXR Joe 92,
So
thank you
we've
for the
got
support.
Pirates
Appreciate
and
it.
princesses, monsters, and Muppets out on our little Europe
Hey,
set.
GXR
They
Joe
transferred
and everyone in
Europe
here,
into the streets of
go
Paris
check out today's
for a scene
video.
in the 2011
It's a
reboot
crazy
of The
security
Muppets.
guard who
So
doesn't like
I
being
think our
filmed.
biggest celebrity name drop of the tour is the
Check
fact
it
that
out.
Kermit and Miss Piggy worked out there for the Muppets. Now, if you think it's impressive how much we can change up our backlot sets, just wait until you see how we can completely transform our sound stages. Ahead of us, we got Soundstage 50, and there was a show filming in here earlier this week. I don't know if they're just on their lunch today or today's their day off, but our tours have gotten clearance for the time being to drive through and show you the sets. However, I know they'll be back for more filming another day, so we can't disrupt the sets. So hold on to your belongings, don't drop anything in here, stay seated as usual, supervise your children. If you drop anything in here, I'm actually not even authorized to get off the tram and get it for you since this is a closed set. And as you can see, we've transformed this soundstage into a San Francisco metro station.
Yeah, watch it and tell me what you think about it.
Chair and monitor. And
Comment down below on the video.
Hair and makeup and wardrobe setup. I think in the first corner, if I read it correctly as we drove in, it where the art department. Okay. Hopefully that was just a little California summer. Or not. Okay, so I lied. That's not a real soundstage. You just survived Earthquake, the big one. The attraction originally opened 35 years ago in 1989 and just reopened this spring for our 60th anniversary with a complete Hollywood makeover, updating all the props and movie-making equipment, finally bringing the set
Big
into
shout
the
out
21st
to
century.
Snakes Army though.
For those of you who know the
That's the
old
best
version of
moderator I
Earthquake,
have.
you know it was about time that we finally got this update. But Earthquake is a great example
I think
of
Snakes Army
practical
went on a
effects.
vacation.
So King Kong was all digital effects. It was done with computer-generated imagery, aka CGI, and it was all on screens around us. Earthquake has no screens. That was all real fire, real water, real things breaking around us. And we have more great examples of practical effects coming up on the tour. But don't worry about them yet. We're just heading to the peaceful beaches of Amity Island for now, which you may recognize from Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg. But we caught the shark, as you can see. We got nothing to worry about today. We even have our police officer George out there doing one final sweep of the water to prove that there is another shark in the water. Okay, nobody panic. Stay seated. I don't see George out there, so maybe he made it back to... George! George! There's another shark in the water! Okay, I'm so sorry you folks had to see that. Everybody stay seated and supervise your children so we don't suffer the same fate as George. performance given to us by Bruce, the mechanical shark, George, the animatronic diver, and me, if I do say so myself. Obviously, I was in on it. I knew that was a fake shark. Because Bruce has been part of the studio tour for over 40 years. And he got his name, Bruce, after the original mechanical shark they used while they were filming Jaws. And that shark was named Bruce after Steven Spielberg's lawyer. Now we have another great display of practical effects coming up for you in our old Mexico sets. Here to introduce it is the Today Show co-host and weather anchor, Al Roker.
Time for my favorite part of the tour, weather. When it comes to film and TV, it is truly a special effect. In fact, to demonstrate how weather effects are created, we reviewed our first major attraction in 1968.
That spontaneous rainfall is sprinklers, shooting the water up into the air and letting gravity bring it down naturally. The lighting is just strobe lights, and the feather is just sound effects coming from speakers. It's a very simple system, but very effective. And we could keep things like this level of intensity. We could lighten them up into more of a drizzle. Or we could take it up a notch.
That's so sad.
That flash flood worked like a charm, and that water's going to flow right back under the bridge to be recycled for our next weather demonstration. Now, I like to think that the flash flood is sort of a little homage to an incident that happened at our opening day event back in 1915.
Which roller coaster?
We tried to demonstrate our wonderful practical effects to a bunch of invited Hollywood guests, and we tried to simulate a practical effect of a dam break, and it malfunctioned and flooded the back lot. Now, we had similar problems with the original Bruce from Jaws. I'll get into that in a minute. But first, I'm going to pass it over to Steven Spielberg himself. He's going to tell you what it was like to help create an attraction based off of a movie he had directed.
The Jaws ride was almost the inevitable result of the size of the box office when Jaws first opened in June of 1975. And that was really the first time I ever got involved in the creation of a ride. It was a great
Damn, this is
honor
our longest
to
live I've done,
into
everyone,
a
42
great
minutes.
circle of tremendous designers at Universal that were trying to figure out how to replicate what the movie had done to audiences in a real way by building a physical shark that would come out of the water and terrify tourists as they were sitting in. And the most amazing thing about the Jaws ride is it is exactly as it was from the time it was first placed on the Universal lot. There have been tweaks, of course, over the years, but it is essentially what the designers and myself all envisioned and created. I'm done bashing the shark. Thank you, Jaws, for everything you've done for me. But I will say, consistently, the shark did work much better on the tour than it did in the Atlantic Ocean in 1974.
As Steven kind of hinted at there, the original Bruce the Shark malfunctioned a lot. So frequently that their production was delayed 100 days. Jaws was set to premiere around Christmas time in 1974. Didn't premiere until the summer of 1975. But despite all the struggles, we love working with Steven Spielberg. He makes incredible films, and he loves working with us too.
My entire career began.
So I'm gonna turn the light off and I'm gonna go live again when I ride the roller coaster or some other ride. I'll catch you next time. Thank you everybody for support.
I was so excited and thrilled to be on the lot. This is my first time ever on a movie studio lot. And during a bathroom break,